What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing It Takes Two. So this is obviously a game that just came out this past Friday. I've beaten it. I've beaten the entire game with my wife, and I want to say this immediately in this video. Probably stop what you're doing right now and buy this game. Truly. Maybe even stop the video and go buy this game. This is my favorite game of the year. It's not even close. Now, what I will say is there's very few games that have released this year, but even comparing it to some of the best games that came out last year, this would be easily in my top 5 if you had to combine. And that's I would say that's pretty high company. You had games that not everybody loved, but like The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima was last year, Final Fantasy 7, Miles Morales, a lot of PS5 and Xbox Series X games. So I would say this is a very high tier. This is probably one of, if not the most fun I've ever had in a co-op game. And I've played co-op games, and there's different kinds of co-op games for different situations. A game like Overcooked is obviously very different than a game like this. I was obviously comparing this game a little bit to A Way Out, just because of obviously what the studio has done before. This game is pure fun from start to finish. I should probably say this too, just so I can kind of get out of the way. EA did provide me a copy of this game. They provided me a code that does absolutely nothing, I would say, to sway my opinion. You guys would know if you've watched these videos leading into this game. I was, again, very excited for it because of A Way Out. Even Brother: A Tale of Two Sons was a phenomenal game. So they've done some amazing work. Joseph Fares obviously is quite the guy. And no, truly, they crafted... I saw a review, I think it was Games Radar. Somebody said that this game is up there with Portal 2 as some of the all-time best co-op games ever made. Now, Portal 2, I think probably is the best co-op game ever made. That game is literally a perfect game, I would say, from start to finish. And this game is just so much fun. The story takes a back seat at times. I actually really love the story. Like we talked about with the Eurogamer review video, I think it means something a little bit more to me just because of that. I'm married, I have a daughter. So just because of that, the situation, or just because of, the relationships that I have, the game I think does connect with me maybe a little bit more than it would to other people, right? But I think it would hit also differently if you maybe are a parent that was divorced, or you have a parent with a kid that's divorced, or, if you're a kid whose parents divorced. All of these situations, obviously, I think the game would hit you a little bit differently. And again, we're not Eurogamer. We don't kind of cry in our basement. We can handle somewhat sensitive issues such as this. I don't think it is the most sensitive thing of all time, but it's definitely something that happens, and different people have different ways of reacting to it, and you can have different opinions about, is it the right thing to just let it be, let it kind of collapse the marriage, kind of maybe do counseling or get it back together. But the game, the game presents a lot of those things. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you, but it's generally a more it makes you kind of smile more often than not. This game, it's not like a dark, depressing game where just bad thing happens after bad thing. So maybe you can infer where the game's going. But again, oftentimes the story will take a back seat to the gameplay. And I've never played a game, in my opinion, that is so diverse and works as much as A Way Out does in terms of a co-op adventure. There are, I believe, 7 chapters, and they are each, I can't even tell you how different each level is. Sure, there's some mechanics that you're going to be doing that's the exact same thing. Sure, the general premise is you have one power, the other person has a different power that complements each other, and there's going to be things that you can do that your partner can't, vice versa. You'll have to kind of get from point A to point B, but that's obviously you can't change that all that much in any game, right? There's going to kind of be those standards, but this game does as well as I would say any game has ever done in making every level diverse. The game's beautiful. The game looks really good. It looks kind of rough around the edges with the human part, when you see them in human form, which is not honestly all that often. But when you're in the world, it does look beautiful. All the different. Now I was playing on PS5. I guess I should say that, but the environments were absolutely beautiful. My wife and I were kind of going back and forth and saying, oh, what, this place was kind of my favorite. That place was, was your favorite. You're going to have that, because I think there's going to be areas in this game that's just going to kind of blow you away, whether it's side things you can do or mini games that are in that area or the general premise. There's some that are more heavy on certain gameplay mechanics than others, and you'll see what I mean kind of as you play it. I love it. I honestly love this game to death. I am so proud of them. Not that they need, my kind of nod or not, but I really think they did a phenomenal job. I never was really all that worried about this game, which is kind of odd for me because normally when studios make good games like A Way Out was, and I've told you guys before, A Way Out will always hold a very special place in my heart because of playing it with my girlfriend at the time, which obviously then became my wife. Like, it's always going to be a very special game, which, by the way, there is an Easter egg to A Way Out in this game, which is absolutely awesome. But that game will always be special, and actually going into this game, I wasn't even worried about, like, okay, well, do they kind of drop? Do they kind of make a bad product? And while the game kind of looks weird in the marketing for it, especially because of the book, the Love Book, right? Definitely makes it seem kind of odd and really, really strange. The game really isn't all that strange. It's very straightforward in terms of the premise and what you're doing, and there's puzzles, but you have to think a little bit. There's definitely some that stumped my wife and I for a couple minutes, but none that are you're gonna have to like sit there and you're gonna throw a controller against a window or break and stuff like that. There's nothing like that. The game is supposed to be fun. The game's supposed to be a little bit lighthearted in terms of gameplay. It's very kind with deaths. Like, you'll die quite often. As long as you don't die at the exact same time your partner dies, the game will just keep going and you'll just kind of come back. So it's very, very generous, and it's supposed to be, because this game can be with people, I think, that don't play that many games. My wife doesn't play too many games. She does play, a good amount, but not as many as me, and she hung on just fine. So I think it's definitely a game that you can play with a loved one, with a friend, with whoever, and just have a really fun time with. Again, it's not depressing. It's not like The Last of Us Part 2, like that kind of like just darkness throughout the entire game. There's definitely a lot of smiles here, and again, all of the environment's so good. All the different things you do in this game, and just, I mean, I'm telling you, the amount of diversity in the gameplay it's absolutely incredible. They talked about that leading in, how there was going to be all of these different mini games and all of the levels are different and you're always going to be doing something new. And then you see the reviews and everybody is just talking about how amazing the gameplay is and how just diverse and fun, and they're 100% correct. That is absolutely this game's strength, and I would say I actually side on the good side with the story. I actually was a fan of it. I thought it was good. It wasn't perfect. You could kind of see certain things coming, and again, some of the again, when you see like the human, models, they aren't the greatest in the world. So maybe it drops a little bit. I'm not saying this is a 10 out of 10 perfect game, but I am saying there's not a game that came even remotely close. Before this would be Hitman 3. That's my favorite game of the year. After this, it doesn't even come close. Obviously, they're very different games. You don't play Hitman 3 for the same reason you play It Takes Two, and I get it. Final thing I'll say, I get it. Co-op games are not for everybody, and you do need to play this game in co-op. You actually cannot play this game single player, but again, you get the code, and it actually comes with a code. So if you don't have somebody in the living room with you playing this game, you can have somebody online playing it. Like I said, that's actually how I played A Way Out with my wife, is I played it on the internet, and she played on the internet at her house, and we played it together online. So there's really, you just got to find somebody pretty much, and if you do, you will not regret it, because both of you, I think, will have an absolute blast with this game. And it's one of those games that's just really, really fun, really, really enjoyable, and I'm so glad I played it. I'm so glad that they made it. This is a phenomenal game, and this is going to actually be pretty hard to beat. I want this game to be like a top 5 game when I come out of this year and say, oh yeah, It Takes Two still is one of the best games I played this entire year. I really hope that it does that, and I think it will. I honestly think it will. So let me know, guys, in the comments below. Are you playing this game? Are you thinking of buying it? Let me know where you guys stand with it in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. The link for that's in the description, or you can obviously look me up on Twitter. Would love to have you guys over there. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.